Rockin' Robin, tweet. Hello, and welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you to master your mindset and maximize your money. Today, we're talking about Social Security and a new report that's raising a lot of concerns. According to a new CBO report, Social Security could run into major financial trouble sooner than expected. And for millions of people, Social Security is their entire retirement plan. So today we're breaking down what this really means, what could happen next, and why, depending on the government to take care of you later is risky. Most importantly, we're going to talk about what people can do right now to protect themselves financially. So let's get into this conversation. I am your hostess with the mostest, Dr. Lene Javette, brilliant bank strategist and business coach. I'm joined by our beautiful queens, Aisha Verzi, financial services expert, Shalay Camillo, CEO of Vital Source Realty, and Renee Williams, clinical research strategist. Hello, queens. How y'all doing today? How y'all doing this morning?
Morning.
Great. Everybody on the West Coast?
What'd you say?
Is everybody on the West? I know it's morning for me.
Oh, afternoon.
Morning for Aisha. Is it morning for you, Shalay?
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, boo. Hey. Good morning in the chat. When you hear Social Security could run out, what's your first reaction, Shalay?
We need to have a plan B, C, and D.
We need to have a plan B? Okay. What about you, Aisha?
Good question. Well, my first thought was, what happened and what we need to do next? What's our next plan?
What's the next plan? Okay, so if it runs out, what's the plan? Renee, when you hear Social Security could run out, what's your first reaction?
What's new? Because that's always been the case. And for us as a Black community, we should not be surprised at all, particularly when it comes to our wealth, our generational wealth, if we can say anything about generational wealth.
All right. When I hear Social Security, because my mom talks to me about it a lot, she is in the process of this is her last year working. She's getting ready to retire. So she's doing a lot of research on Social Security and how she's going to retire and her money. And she's always like, you need to look at your stuff. You need to look at your stuff. And I'm like, Mom, I am not counting on Social Security. That is not a part of my plan. I'm not looking for it. I'm not thinking about it. Like, I have other concepts, ideas, and goals. Not that I don't care what happens to it, but it's not going to affect me. That's not part of my roadmap. So let's get into our first video. In the chat, let me know what you all think when you hear that Social Security is going to run out. What does that mean to you? And what do you think? Let's watch this first video. I think so. Okay. Well,
Security is set to run out in about a decade. Not a conspiracy, not a rumor. In fact, this is straight from the government's own trustees report. And yet, every Congress, every president, and both parties have pretty much ignored it. You should know this. Social Security started back in the 1930s as a promise. You work, you put in, and when you retire, you'll be taken care of. And how it works is that current workers' paychecks fund as you go, meaning there's no magic vault with your name on it. It's the current workers funding the current retirees. Yeah, so that sounds like a great system. What's wrong with it? Boomers. See, there's a lot of them, and as they retire and live a lot longer than previous generations at that age, there just aren't enough workers to cover the payouts. Right now, the program is paying way more than it's bringing in. By the early 2030s, the trust fund will be completely depleted. After that, unless something changes, the benefits would automatically have to be cut by 20%. at least. And the bigger point is that this is not new. Experts have been warning against this since the 1980s. And both Democrats and Republicans have promised to fix this, but to no avail. And really, it's because all the solutions are extremely unpopular with the American people. We either have to raise taxes or cut benefits or raise the retirement age, or some kind of mix of all three. And decade after decade, nothing meaningful has been done. And right now, Social Security is being hit with a wave of efficiency reforms. And that kind of sounds harmless, but it could carry huge consequences. The current administration is firing thousands of staff, closing offices, and forcing stricter ID regulations. And in some cases, they're ending paper checks altogether. On paper, it's about saving money and preventing fraud, but in practice, it really just raises barriers for the elderly, people who live in rural areas, and low-income people who rely on these services the most. Let me know down below what you think.
All right, so I believe that this is all scare tactics, but let's just do you trust the government to take care of retirees like long term? Not even retirees. Do you trust the government to take care of you long term, Renee?
No, I never have trusted the government to take care of me, but I do also know that along with there's an increase with boomers. Also, we have to take into consideration we're moving from, obviously, we're away from the industrial revolution or industry, and now we are in the digital wallet industry. So that has a lot to do with it too, because the strategies and how they're going to get paid is totally different than how they were getting paid back in the industrial age. But also, you know, I don't want to be black, but I'm just saying, as a people, and understanding that we should never have relied on Social Security, which a lot of us do rely on Social Security. And then we get played at the end. And like you say, you see these 80, 85-year-olds of every race at Walmart, you know, trying to make up that income. So it's sad.
Can you guys hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I was turning my thing, and I didn't want you to hear the screech. So, Aisha, why do you think so many people rely on Social Security as their main plan?
You know, it's interesting that a lot of people rely on Social Security as their main plan. And that was because, again, like Renee was saying, the Industrial Revolution, we had the 40-40, right? You work 40 years and you get taken care of. So people just relax. They figure there's a pension for me. Wherever I'm working, there's something set up for me. So there's just automatic relaxation that people have. But then we forget that things are changing. People are not having 10 kids any longer. People even only have one. They don't want to get married. So things are completely changing. So if you use the same thought process of that time and just relaxing and depending on what you thought will happen, that's scary. I think even for anyone listening, all of us, somebody promised you something great, but I'm still going to have my own going on. I'm not about to just relax and think you're going to provide it for me, because it's easy for somebody else to tell you, no, I don't have it. What are you going to do? There's nothing you can do, because they'll tell you, oh, I don't have it. Well, you promised me. Well, people break their promises all the time. And it's so sad. Unfortunately, it's so sad. People do that. And so relying on the government, to me, is not a wise idea. Not in today's world. Maybe those days, but not today's world.
It's like a false promise, right?
Yep.
You do all this work, you work your whole life. And well, I think it's twofold, right? You have the what do they call it? The gold watch and the parachute, right? With retiring from your job. Your
golden handcuffs.
Pension. Yep. First it was pension. Now they call it your 401k. And then you think you're going to have that check and your Social Security, and you're going to be able to ride off into the sunset and do great things. And while that may have worked, maybe it might have worked years ago, the cost of living is way too crazy to be living off of Social Security today. So even if you were able to get a check, you ain't making a lot of money. Shalay, do you think Social Security today is enough to live off of economically?
Oh, hell no. No. Not even in the slightest. And the sad part about it, because I have some family members and some clients who are in that situation where they're retiring or they're working part-time and getting partial Social Security, and you can't like in some cases you can't even qualify for food stamps, so you can't get no extra help, and you're only getting $1,500 a month, $1,700 a month. How is anyone supposed to live off of that, right? And it's easier for us to say in this day today that, oh no, you shouldn't have relied on it, right? Because we all are of that mind. I have never even thought about Social Security. Like, I get the little statements, oh, this is what you'll get based on how many hours how many years you've worked and put into the system, and I just throw it in the trash because I'm not even thinking about it. But that there was no reason for them not to trust it. It was so systemic. There was no reason for them at that time not to trust that that was going to happen. So I'm sure that they did metrics back in the day, or maybe they didn't. And they probably knew that this wasn't going to last very long. But again, the people who we have in charge of our government, they're greedy, and they always have been greedy. So they were setting it up for them and their kids, and then kick the can down the road for everybody else.
Yeah, I think that, and I know I'm just probably going to get into this when we start talking about like true retirement. There are things that you can do to start preparing yourself for it. As an entrepreneur, I mean, God, this conversation is so good, because the way the Social Security works, we are seeing how it has failed, like our grandparents, our parents and our grandparents, right? We're seeing how they're barely making it. They're barely able to pay their bills off of what their income was when they made money, right? Income and payroll and jobs pay a lot more today. The cost of living is more today. People are making more money today. So you would assume that their Social Security would be more for them to live off of. But even that is not necessarily true. Let's watch our next video, and then we're going to keep this conversation going.
I used to work with, she caught me in the parking lot one day and was telling me that she was eligible for retirement. But after looking at her financial situation, she said she can't afford to. So she's going to try to work 3 more years, and hopefully she'll be able to retire. Y'all, when I tell y'all, that broke my heart right in that instance, because I'm like, man, we work hard to retire, get to the point to where we can, and now we can't even afford to. And it just made me think about my grannies. Like, I couldn't imagine them having to be on their feet 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, still working hard at that age. Because this woman is sweet, she dependable, she work hard, but she can't even relax. She's 60 plus years old, can't even relax, bro. But see, things like that indirectly motivate me, because I'm looking at her 60 plus years old. I'm not even 30 yet. And so I'm thinking, I'm reverse engineering, like, what can I do to avoid that situation? That's why I emphasize being financially literate and saving and preparing for the future, especially to the young kids, because, bro, some of us have this mentality to where we only live once and we don't know when our time comes, so we gonna live like there's no tomorrow. Well, what if your tomorrow ends up being 60 years from now, and you continue to live the way you living today and treat your finances how you treat them 60 more years? You're gonna be in that same situation. I understand if you enjoy your job, that's cool and everything, but y'all, we wasn't put on this earth to work to die. Like, at some point we gotta live, and hopefully we get to live a lot sooner than later. So I'm begging y'all, man, start treating your finances and taking life seriously now, because the sooner we get it together, the sooner we're able to live the life that we want to live.
I like what he was talking about. Why don't you think more people are preparing for retirement early? I think that when people have a job, they believe that their 401k is going to be the thing if they don't pull money out from it. They think that their pension will be the thing, or Social Security will be the thing. So they may not necessarily be thinking about what external factors do I need to put in place to make sure that I can retire well, and or think that it should happen later in life, right? Let's see. Shalay, why aren't more people preparing for retirement early?
So I think it's because, and this has to do with a lot of the issues that we have in this country with not being wealthy, right? But we are comfortable, so we're kind of lulled to sleep in a lot of ways on a lot of different issues. So again, this is how they prepared, especially the generation behind us. This is how they prepared. This is how they were socialized to prepare for the retirement. Like this is going to be a big part of it. So I think I think number one, people don't realize, or when they hear it, they think it's a hoax, or they think, no, the government will take care of it and they'll turn it around. And people think that they have time to make it up. And, even me, it's like, I want to do all these things. I want to have this amount of money in the bank and this amount in investments. And even sometimes I'm like, well, damn, like I need more time. I need more runway to get to where I want to be. So it's like, we think we have more time. We think the government's going to turn it around. And if we take nothing away from what is going on with this government right now, we need to take away that they're not like us and they're not going to save us. So we really, really have to be diligent. And today, putting that plan in place. Okay, so let me just realize that this is probably not going to be there. Now, what is my plan?
I like that. Renee, go ahead. Get out to that.
I was going to say, also, we have to have the mind frame that the government wants us to be dependent on them. If we weren't dependent on them, then how can they funnel, oh, we have these government programs, now you get this, and now we have interest on this. The banks want you to pay interest. If you were able to have financially sound and put your money up and be able, would you listen to that boss talk to you that way, or or your colleagues, how they talk to you? If you really had that financial cushion, you would be out of there. So they find certain ways to have you dependent on what they can provide for you, so you can just a little bit, maybe go have a cheeseburger and go home and be with your family and watch a flick. But what I'm saying is that is structured, is strategized like that, and it's not a what do they call that? Theory, whatever theory they talk about, those theories that you have. It's not a theory, it's the truth. Just a little bit. For social workers, and I love social workers, I love teachers, okay. But if social workers really did the job where they got the people who really need them, they got them off of the assistance, they got them into their homes, they're renting, and now they can will they have a job? Would if they got everybody financially well, would they have a job? That's just how the government is. We have to understand that, and we have to then do for ourselves. We have to get ourselves independent, stack it up, and do what we need to do.
You said something financial. You said something, and it made me think it's financial independence. They keep us financially dependent on them, because if we had financial independence, we would be free thinkers. We'd be able to make our own choices and decisions. We wouldn't go be at the whims and flows of these quote unquote two parties. The Republicans said this, the Democrats said that. We're going to do this for you in your job. We're not going to do that for you. When you have money, you're not really listening to those things because you have more control over your life. When you don't have money, it can often feel like you don't have control of your life. And if you don't have money, how can you save, right? If you're hand to mouth or paycheck to paycheck. Aisha, what do you think retirement looks like for people who don't have savings? Like they don't have the money to save, and all that they have might be 401k and or Social Security. What does retirement look like for those individuals? Or what could it potentially look like? Let me say it that way.
Yeah. There's just so many facets to that. And I think the truth is Social Security affects a lot of people, not just our people, right? But we mostly focus on our people. That's just the truth. I have clients that are from, other communities, and they're going through the same thing. It's not something that's isolated. And the key is we forget that any kind of thing we put aside through our job, it's just a supplement. It's just a supplement. It's not, this is it. Because the mistake we make, again, in that video we just watched was about financial literacy. If you understand financial literacy and what it requires, there's no way you think that your 401k is going to save you. That's not possible. And then now you don't have money because you think you're strapped. So the first thing is, are you living above your means? Right? Sometimes we want to buy things that we cannot afford. We want to buy the house that we cannot afford, the cars that we cannot afford. Then we're stretched. Well, I'm working 10 hours. Well, you are, but you're living in a place you cannot afford. So these are things that we need to do. So financial literacy is so important. And I see it all the time when I meet with clients, I'm talking to them about their finance because I care deeply about them and where they're going. And they fight you because they want what they want. And then now when something happens to them, they don't have the money. Now the government now is at fault because they didn't give me the safety net. Well, you should have saved that money to do that rather than spending it on things that you're not supposed to spend them on. So to me, I see that more like just pure math. It's not working. Yes, you make this much money, stay where you can afford. Buy the car you can afford. Don't go above your means. And let somebody help you so you can find ways to save. Don't eat out too much. All this stuff. And people don't think about that. They think, no, I'll do what I want and still have money later on. It doesn't work like that. You have to sacrifice something to get what you want. It's not easy, but somebody has to sacrifice.
Kiki Palmer, I'm sorry, Kiki Palmer. I just saw an article. She rents for $1,500 and she drives her Lexus to this day.
Yes, you can keep trying to, live a life you can afford, and now you're broke. Well, see what she's very wealthy, but she's living below her means because she understands that she doesn't want to live a life where she's struggling. And I know that people really work hard and the pay is not enough. I get it. But when I see where they live, I say, well, you don't have to live there. You can go live somewhere else. But people want what they want.
What do you all think? And I'm going to do this at a couple of different ages. Get the number in your head. Don't change it. In the chat, you guys can answer too. So whatever number comes to your head first, save that number. Don't change it when you hear somebody else's number. How much money should someone realistically have saved by age 40? Chalet, I'll start with you since you said
That's a tough question to answer because it depends on where they live and do they have a family, and do they own a home, do they rent, do they have expenses, do they have student loans to pay off. A good amount to have saved by 40. I think that if you could have $40,000 saved at that time, depending on where you live, then you have enough for possibly an emergency fund. And this is where we're basing this off of not the desire. Of course, you want to say 150, 200, but being realistic to where, wages are right now and everything, and the expense to actually live. If you have $40,000, I think you'd probably have about depending on your expenses, 3 to 6 months of emergency funds. And if you don't own a home, if you have $40,000, that would be enough in most parts of the country to get into home ownership, which has been the safest hedge against all of this inflation over the last 75 years. So getting into home ownership as early as possible, the average age that folks are getting into home ownership is 41, right? So that's a great age that you pick. But getting into home ownership as soon as you can and using different strategies to make it affordable, even in the environment where everything is expensive, we have high interest rates, there are ways to make it more affordable. And like Aisha said, being willing to sacrifice, being willing to not need that instant gratification of my house got to have this, it got to have that, you need to be able to compromise somewhere. I think that in this environment and in this country at this time, we all need to be thinking about where we can compromise and stop and have blinders on and guardrails and stop keeping up with the Joneses. We need to do what we can do and what's comfortable for us and what will help us get to that next level. And home ownership is one of the ways.
Okay. Renee, how much money should someone realistically have saved by age 40?
I was going to say less than Aisha. I was going to say about 30,000.
30,000. Okay. Aisha, how much do you think somebody should have saved by the age of 40?
At the age of 40, you should have at least $250,000 or higher.
So 250,000 or higher.
Yeah.
I would say 100,000. I would say by 40, you should have at least 100,000 saved. And then, yeah, I think I would say by 40, you should have 100,000 saved. Probably, and it's hindsight, right? Because then it comes back to at 40, you just burned through your 20s, acting a plum fool, partying, buying tables. You spent more money than you had coming in. Your 30s, you're probably starting a family, maybe getting married, figuring out life. So even just to try to figure out how to save 100,000, like where is that coming from?
Right.
Now here we go. One more.
Yes.
We're gonna do it again. One more time. One more time. How much money should you have saved by 50? I'll start with you, Renee. I'm going to go backwards. How much money should you have saved by 50?
No, I was going to say about at least $250,000,
By 50.
at least.
Damn, 49. Okay. I'm fine.
One cusp.
Okay. Chalet, by 50.
By 50. Again, variables, there are variables, but by 50, I feel like in your 40s, a lot of times in our 40s, we're really building, right? We're really starting to get that momentum, or really starting to really start building to where we have access to savings, to where we're really thinking about life insurance, and you can tap into that. So I think that by 50, realistically, based on the economy, and if you have like a job that pays just decent money, I think that if you could have $100,000 at 50 saved, then you can do some things.
Okay. So you said 250?
100,000 saved by 50, because you can use that to leverage it to get.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aisha, how much by 50?
$500,000 to $1 million.
$500,000 to $1 million by 50. Okay. $500,000 to $1 million by 50. I think I might tend to agree with Aisha. $500,000, at least 250, at least 250. If you could get 500, yes, but a minimum. So I'll do that. A minimum of 250 by 50 is probably what I would go with. Let me see what you guys said in the audience. So we had Deborah said 1 million. C. White said it depends. At Incog 4654 said $100,000 without any other debt. C. White said at age 40, 500K. Armando said 100K for starters. Deborah said 2 million. I think that's for the 50. 200 to 250K by age 50. Okay, now who has that? Not you guys on the panel. I'm talking to the chat.
Well, I have a question.
Give us a $50,000 loan.
right. I have a question, right? And let's just because my number was the lowest at 100,000, right? And then it with 200,000, 500 million. So realistically, just as a baseline, how are people able to save that amount of money? And when we say save, we're talking about that's your other expenses paid and you're saving. How is the average person able to save that amount of money? And I would love to hear some advice for that, because people probably like, ooh, somebody said, where does Aisha live?
I know.
I think it's where she lives. It's what she does. So we'll start with Aisha. Let's start with Aisha. I already know what she's going to say, but let's start there, and then we'll go around the panel and let everyone weigh in. But before we do that, let me just make sure that my executive producer doesn't want to go to another video before we have this conversation, and she did not say so. So let's do this round robin, and then we'll go to our next commercial. So Aisha, how can somebody actually save that money, or have access to that kind of money?
This one.
Yeah, because we're talking about 50, right? That means you've been in the job market for over 30 years, technically. If over maybe 20, at least more than 2 decades, you've been in the workforce. And this happens with maximizing your 401k and the power of compounding interest. Meaning not touching the money, not borrowing from the money, because as you save and maximize your contributions, that money is growing and it's compounding. That's just one aspect of your money. And then if you have, we're talking about ideally, right? We're not talking about, oh, now I'm looking back, ideally. And then if you have your other insurances that you've been putting money as well, by the time 20 years later, it's also compounded in interest. So all that money combined gives you that net worth that you're like, wow, I can't believe I have this much money. It's amazing how the numbers work when you allow time to compound your money for you. So that is what that's how I'm looking at it. If you start early, it's amazing, the snowball effect of the compounding interest of your money. So that is how I come up with those numbers. Maximizing your retirement account, and then your other accounts in your insurance, and watch the magic a decade or two later.
Okay. Renee, what about you? What can you offer people to prepare or save those types of dollars for retirement?
I agree with everything Aisha says. Then also what I did is, they take taxes out of your check anyway, right? So I would say I would always do take 10 or 20%, and it just automatically is taken out of my paycheck and put into a savings account. And if it's already gone, I don't know. I mean, I'm moving on and doing whatever I have to do. So in addition to that, just like having a certain amount of money just taken out and put into a different account so you don't see it or touch it. When you turn around and look at it, it's like, oh, wow.
All right. Shalay.
Okay.
And let me reframe the question. It's the same question, but we're really answering what are some smart first steps for someone who has nothing saved? We're answering what's the best retirement plan for someone living paycheck to paycheck? What can you be doing right now to get you to a place where you can have those types of dollars saved? You may not have it at 40 and 50, but you still need it. And what can you do right now? Go ahead, Shalay.
Okay, so first I want to preface this with saying I didn't, so when I was thinking savings, I'm thinking savings outside of investments, because a lot of times
we're not having it. Yeah, we're going to have the investment conversation in a second. I'm going to address that. Yeah, right now we're just talking about savings.
Right. So Aisha was saying having your 401k, a lot of times you can't tap that stuff without penalty. So when I'm thinking savings, I'm thinking separate savings account that's liquid that you can actually tap. 100K. But going to your question, how can someone start now if they don't have it? Well, if you got a little bit, if you got 3% down, I would go and try to buy a multifamily home if that's in your market. If you can get a 2-family, if you can get a 3-family, get a multifamily home, because for most of us, the largest expense that we have is your housing costs. And if you can cut some, half, a third of that, 3/4 of that, that's extra money that you can put away and save. That's extra money that you can put away and invest. So I would go into trying to get into home ownership, trying to buy a house and trying to buy as many units first as you can. You can buy 1 to 4 units with a conventional FHA loan. So that's where I would start, because you want to get your footing in there, because that is going to, we talk about compound interest, which Aisha's an expert in, and real estate does something similar in the form of appreciation.
So I would think, so at almost 50, I was going to say 50, at 49 and a half, and 49 and a quarter.
Make your birthday.
September.
Okay, when September what?
September 9th.
Oh, she's a Virgo.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Lord. Not quite half, but I think I am over a quarter at this point, but not quite half. I'm like 49 and a third, but whatever. Looking back, what I wish I would have done, or what I would tell someone now, our executive producer said acorns too. At 50, looking backwards, what I wish I would have done is had these conversations sooner. So that's the first thing I would tell somebody to do. How do you get to 100,000? Have the conversation sooner. Like, start talking to your kids about it right now. Like, you might not be there, but start talking to them about it. So have the conversation sooner and understand that savings start way sooner. I wish I would have bought a house sooner, because when we talk about savings, it doesn't have to be in your pocket. It could be something that you could tap into later. Like, you can put that $100,000 into a house and just let it sit there, because that's a savings account. When you go to sell the house, you get the money back. Because if it's just sitting in your bank account, you might spend it. So putting my money that I've saved someplace where I can't touch it, I would have done that, because I've saved and lost probably over $500,000. You save it and then you tap into it. I'll put it back. You save it, you tap in. So I would have taken my savings and put it into something where I couldn't have pulled it out. Another thing I wish I would have done is I wish I would have talked more about my goals, because I knew I wanted to buy a house, but I didn't know where I wanted to live. Born and raised in California. I moved to Arizona when I was 16. I moved back to California when I was 23. I moved back to Arizona when I was 30. I moved to Atlanta when I was 38. I moved back to Arizona when I was 40. And I've just lived here. But I could have bought a house 4, 5, 6 times over. But because I didn't feel like I was stable enough, I didn't. But I didn't understand. I could have rented that joker out and had 2 or 3 or 4 houses by now. So I think the thing that I would tell somebody now is start doing anything. It doesn't matter. Acorns, IRA, 401k, life, like start saving $5, $10, whatever it is. We just keep thinking that it's going to be later, and we limit our compound time. And then we end up like, what are we going to do? So we are going to have the investing conversation after we have our next video. And then we're going to talk about what does investing look like, and what does that look like for us today, so that we can get to a place where we can retire.
Giving out financial tips for the people, part 7, let's go. If you are not tired of seeing news like this completely scare our community to death, we have a huge problem. Social Security, if you've been around long enough, has been under threat for like 20, 30 years. It seems like every 3 to 6 months, there is some threat to Social Security getting ready to come to an end. They're going to run out of money. We don't know if Social Security will exist for us. And here's the thing. When I work with my clients, I do not factor in Social Security when we are looking at the financial freedom number for each individual. Because let's face it, Social Security is not security. It is a social system that we are all paying into, that the government gets to decide what happens to that money. You have to be able to build, save, invest for your own future. And if Social Security is an option for you, then that is a bonus. We only look at Social Security as a bonus to your retirement income, to your financial freedom income. You have to be able to learn how to be self-sufficient with your own savings and investing, and you have to learn how to manage your money and build your wealth to your own capacity, so that you don't have to rely on systems like this that may or may not be present when you need it. And if you like...
All right, so that's a great question. What is your financial freedom number? Like, I'll ask you two. No, because we're talking about retirement. So let's just ask that. I'm just gonna ask you that. What is your retirement financial freedom number? Aisha, how much do you need to retire to live comfortably in retirement? First of all, how old would you be, and how much do you need?
Yeah, again, it depends on who is retiring. Everybody has a different age.
What's
For us,
your
okay,
financial freedom number?
there's no retirement for me. I just plan to work. I'm not going to retire. I don't have that kind of mindset. But for us to live every month comfortably, I always live below my means. I'm not the flashy person. 10 grand is fine for us. We never had a problem with that. And that's we don't waste our time to be like people that we're not. That's the problem. So 10 grand is fine. So that can be done anytime, over and over again.
So you plan on working at 80?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
I do.
Shalay,
because I want to, not because I have to. Because I want
to. Yeah, I don't want to.
That's a
I'm
big
going to
difference.
travel in the world by 80.
I want to be working with people as long as possible until I expire.
I want the Dr. Fraser plan, where you can travel and speak and teach.
That's it. That's it. That's work. That is not.
Yeah, that's still your work.
Dr. Fraser says it's not work. I think he's over 80, but at that point, he's like, it's not work. At that point, it's just education. Like, he
he's an ambassador.
Work anymore. Shalay, what's your number and how old?
So I kind of have the same perspective as Aisha. I want to stop when I'm ready to stop. Like I don't have like a number. I love what I do. I'm a people person. I want to be helping people in whatever way. And if that's coaching them or speaking or, helping people figure out how to get more properties in their portfolio. So I don't have a number. Yeah. I would like to not have to work at 55. I would like to not have to work at 55. As far as a number in dollars, I would love to have about like 5 million in assets in property and some stocks. And how much would I need to live on per month? I think it depends on what my girls are doing at the time, because they're going to be like in college at that point. So I'm going to need money for that. I'm going to help them start a business. Y'all, this is a whole workshop. We need a workshop. I'm going to help them start a business. So probably maybe like 15,000 a month. I can travel. I can, pay all the bills. Yeah, I think about 15,000 a month.
All right. Renee?
For me, maybe about 20,000 a month. And I want total freedom. I would like to travel and speak and whatnot, but for a number to retire, I say at 60, I should have at least maybe about 8 million and assets and everything is all good by 60.
All right. All right. My financial freedom number, I'm retiring at 60. I have 10 more years doing what I'm doing. At 60, I am retiring. For the next 10 years, I plan to travel the world, teaching, preaching, coaching, talking at whim, backpack lifestyle until I'm about 70. And then when I'm 70, I plan on just kicking it with my boo until the day I die. Now, that being said, my boo wants a jet. That's 20 million. So we're looking at least we need a good 50 million in order to be able to live comfortably for the rest of our lives. And that's low. That's probably really low, but I can make it do on that if I had to. So that's my number, 50 million. And if I could get that in the next 2 years, that'd be great. If not, that's why I gave myself that 60 to 70, still be teaching, preaching, crossing the world, doing what I do. But by 70, I'm out of here. Like, you ain't gonna see me kicking. No, ma'am. No, sir. I see myself being a philanthropist, helping other Black folks and Black businesses, but I don't plan on being a hustler out here still in the streets trying to work. Not the kid. That felt good to say. I think we have another video. No, let's do stats. I'm gonna read them because I don't know if my executive producer has them up yet. There we go. Inflation continues to rise, and that means the dollar buys less every year. Even a fixed income becomes unstable when prices keep increasing. Healthcare costs are one of the biggest retirement threats. Yep, medical expenses in retirement can easily reach hundreds of thousands of dollars over a lifetime. That is the truth. Many Americans have little retirement savings. Surveys show a large percentage of adults have less than $10,000 saved for retirement. Reports show Social Security trust funds could face depletion within the next decade if changes aren't made, which could result in reduced payouts. Yes, that's the truth. The average Social Security retirement benefit is around $1,800 per month, which is not enough for many people to cover rent, food, healthcare, and basic living expenses, which is why you cannot rely on Social Security. And I wanted to just bring that message home. A lot of times people are talking about Social Security is going to be gone. We're not going to get checks. That's not the truth. When we're having this conversation and they're saying that Social Security is going away, it's never going to go away. Let me not say never. It's not that it's going to go away. It's that it's going to be depleted. So there's this thing called the Old Age and Survivors Insurance, OASI. It is a trust fund, and that is what is projected to run out of reserves around 2032 and 2033. So when they say Social Security is going to run out of money, they're talking about the Old Age and Survivors Insurance that will be depleted. There won't be any money there. What will then happen? Without legislative intervention, beneficiaries could see a haircut, is what they're calling it, in payments, where those that receive payments will be reduced approximately 77 to 80% of their promised benefits after that depletion date. The reason why is the system will go to zero, and then it will be funded on a pay-as-you-go basis, meaning that the taxes from current workers will continue to fund, but we'll be literally living off of what is being funded. So as people pay in, that's what they'll get out, and it will be at a reduced amount. So that's just want to make sure that when people talk about it's going to run out of money, no, OASI is going to run out of money and be depleted. And now you eat what you catch. Like we pay in, they pay out. So there won't be a trust fund. There won't be anything just sitting there. You literally got to work. That being said, I know we wanted to have the conversation from the investment route, right? So we kind of alluded to it. What role does investing play in building a real retirement plan, right? Because we talked about savings, which is just putting your money in the bank, but stocks, investing, putting your money someplace where you can get it back. What role does investing play in building a real retirement plan? I'll start with you, Shalay, because you kind of were getting ready to go there and then you pulled it back. So we'll start with you.
Yeah, so this is a great question. And the thing is that people need to remember with investing is that there is risk, and we just have to be okay with the risk. I find that for a lot of people, and Aisha, you probably find this too, that people don't, or investing in stocks. And I know I'm I could talk about real estate all day. When it comes to stocks, I'm like, oh, I told boys, I'm like, look, I need you to just grab my hand and because I need to do more in that area. But it plays a huge role because we have to have our eggs in a couple different baskets to make this picture work. We shouldn't just be doing one thing. We can go heavy on one thing. Like I go heavy on real estate because that's what I know. I'm comfortable with it. I know it works, you know, and I've seen it work for me and everyone else around me, right? But I also want to be diversifying. I have conversations with Aisha about life insurance, you know, talking to Boyce about the stocks and everything, and getting into more things like that. There are even other investments that we don't really even talk about on here, like investing in other people's businesses, buying a book of business that's already running and somebody wants to sell it and they want to retire. And you can buy that person's business that already has, you know, a Rolodex of clients and customers. We haven't even gone down there. So like I said, we can workshop this because there's so many things that we can invest in. These like stocks and insurance and real estate, these are the top of mind things. But there are other things that we can invest in individually, collectively together, buying land, cannabis businesses. Like there's so many things. So I think that we just need to get out of the fear mindset about us not knowing enough about what it is that we want to do and just be open-minded about having the conversation. And yeah.
Renee, why do you think so many people fear the stock market?
Education and not enough education and understanding, but the stock market and real estate is the best bet for all of us to really understand it and get our and pull into it and do it. You know, and also we're going digital. I don't care, no matter what. So going into crypto and understanding crypto and how you can put your money into that platform as well. But yeah, it's education. We need education and understanding. And then after the education, maybe set up something and say, okay, put this money here and we can help diversify with you and help you. And I think Aisha, you do that, right? You help them take their money and diversify it into those pools that, you know, it's going to be a risk, but it's okay. So, you know, it's going to go up and down. And when the news go up, your stock go up. So, you know, you just have to understand those certain things and be able to tolerate it. But you'll win more than lose if you lose, and if you don't put your money in anything, right? So you might as well put it in there.
I love that. And then Aisha, what role does insurance play in building a real retirement plan?
Oh, good question. I know I always talk about insurance, but you know what? It's all about diversification. Diversify. You may be strong, maybe heavy on one aspect, but the key is now look, where am I not strong at, and make sure we diversify. And insurance plays an important role. As a matter of fact, a lot of times that is what preserves your wealth. That is how people actually lose at the end, because they were not protected properly. Proper protection is so key. Why do I maybe lose things that I have worked so hard for? Because I didn't have the guardrail to protect it. So now I lose everything. I'm starting from scratch. So knowing what I know now, honestly, insurance is so important. Whatever you're building, you find a way to insure it. Even in the stock market, guys, stock market has insurance. They are called puts, right? So if insurance is not important, why is it that even in the stock market, you can buy puts to protect your money? So think about that. It's so important. And insurance can help you in so many ways. It preserves your wealth. If it's your income, it can protect against a loss, premature loss, so that your income can be replaced and you're not starting from scratch. Or Anonymous said something important: annuities. Annuities is insurance for your money. You put your money aside. It's not in the market. It's growing modestly, but it's there for you, and it's there for you. So stuff like that you can do. If it's your home, protect it. If something happens, you can replace it, right? All these things matter, because to protect your wealth that you're building, or to have the money you need when the time comes, it's again to have that protection piece. But I also believe in diversification. Real estate, so important. Insurance, so important. Stock market, and then being an entrepreneur, which I know Dr. Lene is an expert in that, helping you grow in the space that God has blessed you to have wisdom or talent, so you can build it and use that to make more money and put it aside and then protect it. So insurance all the way, everything you're doing, protect it.
I love it. I love it. All right, let's go do another video and then we'll start doing our we'll start closing a little bit. Let's go to the next video.
Everything else, I'm watching the news and I'm trying to understand why Congress keeps saying that Social Security is running out.
The money that we get taken out of our paychecks every single month that gets put into our Social Security is getting used right now. I'll show you. This is from the Social Security website, Understanding Your Benefits. The current Social Security system works like this. When you work, you pay taxes into Social Security. They then use that tax money to pay benefits to people who are already retired, have disabilities, survivors or workers who have died, or dependents of beneficiaries. The money you pay in taxes isn't held in a personal account for you to use when you get your benefits. We use your taxes to pay people who are getting benefits right now. Any of the unused money, which there isn't much of any, goes into a Social Security trust, not a personal account with your name on it. You may think the issue is the fact that boomers are retiring. That is not necessarily the case. A big part of the American working population is earning less than the Social Security trustees anticipated decades ago. So they anticipated that there would be a certain amount of money for when the boomers retired. And because of the income inequality and because such a large chunk of the nation's total income is held at the top, and the income subject to payroll tax is capped at $160,000. As the rich have become richer, more and more of the total income earned by Americans has become concentrated only at the top. Therefore, more and more of this income earned is escaping the Social Security.
So basically, we work to pay for today, and somebody else will work to pay for us tomorrow. Is what is how the system goes. Like, we're working to pay for all the people behind us, and by the time we get there, our children's children will be paying for us, depending on when you retire and or if you are relying on Social Security.
And another thing that she said that I knew nothing about, didn't even correlate, is that the taxes, I guess, capped at, if you make 160, it's capped. So everyone who makes over that, it's not like they pay more tax. So the millionaires and billionaires, they're paying the same amount into it as someone who makes 160,000. And so that's how that money is escaping the system. They're siphoning all the money up, but they're not paying more taxes. That's crazy.
That's wild.
Well, the person doesn't pay that much
money. So I can pay less. Go ahead.
Wow.
Can we say something?
Yes, I was going to say, based on the video she was talking about, it's true that the way the money is set up and the way they use it is correct. We have to have more babies to pay for our retirement. If we are going to rely on Social Security, that's how it's supposed to work, but it's not working that way. Things are completely changing. The landscape is so different today that we have to pivot, think of something else to do, because even if we think about those on the top, about Social Security, they're not even relying on Social Security themselves. They have their money, so it doesn't really matter. They're not relying on Social Security. So why am I going to worry about how much they contribute? They're not going to take your money. So it doesn't matter. We just have to make sure we pivot and not rely on what is happening, and have more babies. Like Anonymous say, you got to have more babies to replace you. Otherwise, there won't be money left to take care of the old ones.
Right. Okay, before we get to our final comments, we're doing a Black History Month fact. The one that I was given was the fact that Jesse Jackson has passed away today. And that, I didn't know that when I first got on here today, but for those of you that may not have known, Jesse Jackson has passed away as of today.
Rest in peace.
Yes. I don't know how old he was. I mean, he's been around for as long as 84. Thank you, executive producer. He was 84. He passed away at 84. I think she also said that he had ran for presidency twice.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. And so, I mean, that's a living legend. I even think I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, he ran with Martin Luther King, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Yes.
Or was that what's the other Reverend? Sharpton. No, I think it was Jesse Jackson. I think it was Jesse Jackson. I don't think it was Al Sharpton.
Rest in peace. Wow.
Yeah.
What a legend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So we are going to do our final thoughts. And the final thought angle we're going to take on our way out is, what advice would you give someone who is scared after hearing this report? What advice would you give someone who is scared after hearing this report? Renee, we'll start with you and then we'll go around.
Thank you. Well, Black people can't afford to depend on the system anyway, because at one point we couldn't even vote. So a lot of these things were put in place before we were even allowed to vote. So we have to understand that we need to have a plan for ourselves. And through that, you'll be much better just thinking about what is best for you and your family. And I love how I believe Shayla, thank you. It was saying, you got to put away, don't even think about Social Security. Just think about now and what you can do for your family and for yourself, and not rely on that in the back of your head, just like that could be like, I don't know, some type of lottery thing when you see it when you get older. But I'm Renee Williams, and I'm with Tri-Cycle Sync. And if you knew that 70% of us feel unheard, we're dying at 3 times the rate as white women are in maternal equity. And so we have an app that allows you to track your cycle, menopause, and also maternal health equity to make sure that what it does is it creates reports off of the symptoms and tracking how you feel, and put it together so you can go into the doctor's office and have a much more powerful conversation about you, because they are not thinking about you. So you have to think about yourself. So you can go to tricyclesync.com, check out the site. And if it is not for you, and I understand that, please let the community know it's out there so we can stop having our women die so quickly and their babies. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that information. Aisha, what about you? What advice would you give someone who is scared after hearing this report?
Yeah, don't be afraid. Fear is of the enemy, honestly. Don't be afraid. Just seek counsel, find somebody that can help you, guide you wherever you're at, because there's always a starting point. They say the best day to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best day is today. So no need to be scared. Rather, just take action, small baby steps. Speak with someone that can help you see where you are and give you a map, and then stick with that map. Try to stick to that map. And start saving small. It compounds. Start saving, and whatever you're doing, diversify, and live below your means if you can. But don't be afraid. Don't get caught up in the fear mongering of Social Security. Just take action.
I love that.
Where can you find me? Sorry, where can you find me? I'm in the Black Business Quest, Black, one of the coaches there, and also AishaVerzi.com. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. Shalay, same question to you.
Yeah, so it's easy for us to feel scared, especially for those of us who depended on it. I believe that it's better for us to know the worst case scenario and just plan on the worst case scenario. And then you'll be prepared, right? So someone, I think it was Anonymous, who mentioned annuities. So I'm going to say annuities and insurance. I wish that I was having these conversations when I was younger, because I had both and then cashed one out and let the other one go, because I always thought I had more time and more runway to make it up, right? So knowledge, knowing, the communication, having a community you can talk about it with and learn these things so that you can actually implement. And the implementation is the most important thing. So knowledge and implementation, because if I would have kept my annuity from 15 years ago and let that compound, and if I would have kept my life insurance from when I was 27, I would have a whole bunch of money right now. So that would be my advice: knowledge and implementation. I am Shalay Camillo, CEO of Vital Source Realty. I'm here in Boston, Massachusetts, and I can help you guys buy or sell property anywhere in the United States and Canada. If you have any questions about becoming home buyer ready, I'm actually doing a session in the Black Business School tonight. We're doing a master class, so you can go to theblackbusinessschool.com and sign up for that. If you haven't, we're starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. And come on and join us, and I would love to answer your questions. And I want to help as many of us as possible get our piece of the pie. And home ownership is one of the most impactful ways that we can do that. So
I love that. All right. So I'll ask, what advice would you give someone who is scared after hearing this report? My answer is kind of like what I started with, which is don't let fear hold you back. If you're scared of it, it's because you're not prepared. That's what I would say, right? People who are doing the research, who are learning, who are saving, who are talking about annuities, talking about insurance, talking about stocks, buying real estate, getting doors, thinking about it, they're not scared. We may only be scared, or you may only be scared, or people who are scared because they're not thinking about it and they're feeling like I'm not prepared. So my advice would be get prepared, learn about it. Something as simple as Robinhood, Acorns, download something, get in, start having conversations, be with people. One of my homegirls I was talking to yesterday told me she has a goal of saving $100,000. And then she turned around and said, I've saved 30,000. I was like, what? You have saved 30. I feel like a peasant. Like, okay, hold on, let me get my life together. You out here saving $30,000. And so now that motivated me. Now I'm like, okay, Lene, what you got to do to save you $100,000? So also get around other people who are having conversations and doing things like saving, because when you see other people do it, it makes you feel like, oh, I can do it too. And now you can compare notes. How did you save that? What did you do? Okay, let me, you know what I'm saying? So you have to be around people that are doing those same things. And of course, start a business. You know, I'm gonna say that. And I'm Dr. Nate Javed. I'm a brilliant bank strategist, and I help Black entrepreneurs to start businesses. So I'm always going to go back to that. That being said, my executive producer said that I did not, in fact, give you guys a Black history fact. What I gave you was Black news. And we wanted to just take that moment to recognize a pioneer in the Black community. So that was not our Black history fact. That was our Black news for the day. But let me give you our Black history fact, being that it is Black History Month. A.J. Gaston is known for building one of the most powerful Black business empires during segregation and using his wealth to support the civil rights movement. He created a network of successful businesses in Birmingham, Alabama, of all places, including insurance companies, a bank, funeral homes, real estate ventures, the famous A.G. Gaston Motel. He used his money to fund and support civil rights movements, provide bail money for jailed protesters, support civil rights leaders and organizers, and offer safe meeting spaces. Some of A.G. Gaston's businesses and properties still exist today, but most are no longer operating as his original private companies. His legacy lives mainly through historic sites, organizations, and institutions. For example, the A.G. Gaston Motel still exists. It is now a National Historic Site. It was built in 1954 by Gaston. Today, it's part of the Birmingham Civil Rights National Monument. The Smith & Gaston Funeral Services legacy business still is operating, one of his earliest businesses, still known in Birmingham and part of his lasting business footprint. The A.G. Gaston Boys and Girls Club is still up today. Other businesses, mostly no longer operating. At his peak, he owned the Booker T. Washington Insurance Company, Citizens Federal Bank's Savings and Loan, Construction Company, Real Estate Holdings. Most of these changed ownerships, merged, or closed over time. So we wanted to give a huge thank you, recognition, and shout out to Mr. A.G. Gaston. I love to learn Black facts. Like that makes me feel good to know that. Anyways, today's conversation is a wake-up call. Too many people are counting on Social Security to be enough. And the truth is, it might not be. And if I had to say it a different way, it's not going to be, right? But this isn't about panicking. This is about planning. This is about getting serious and making sure you have a real retirement plan, because nobody wants to be stressed out in their older years. Thank you to our queens for being here. And thank you to you, everyone in our audience, for tuning in every day, for watching, for seeing us, for sharing the content, for bringing people, for doing what you do to make sure that we are successful in this message and this delivery every day. We appreciate you. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and continue to share. Tune in to, I think last week I said Shopify. I meant Spotify. Whoever caught that, I meant Spotify. Make sure you find us on Spotify. If you want to get notified when we go live, text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948. Again, text the word Queens to 87948. You can also catch us on Spotify or tune in here every day at 1:00 p.m. Eastern and catch the Queens live and in person. That said, thank you so much for being here. I'm Dr. Lene Javette, joined by Shalay, Aisha, and Renee. Go out today, be blessed, stay beautiful, be Black, and be